Welcome to Blacksquare's Beechcraft Starship for Microsoft 2020 and 24. A commercial failure, the Starship was an all-composite fuselaged 2,400 horsepower combined twin PT-6 5-bladed pusher prop powered aircraft with a service ceiling of 41,000 feet. This bird features the VLF and Omega radio navigation for the purists of the old school environment. It has simulated cathode ray tube screens and a 190-page manual. In my opinion, this is the definition of study level. There's 62 checklists with radar simulation, 230 failures, with 170 circuit breakers and wearables included as well. And certainly no least, and one of the most impressive things, the Boris Audio Soundworks package recorded from the real bird. Stunning. Performance within 2% of the real-world values. There were only 50 examples of this ever made. You know, they say, you never know what you have until it's gone. With only 6 of these still flying in the real world, time is short. However, today, I'm going to bring you the full review on this aircraft, and just like that, your Starship has arrived. Hello and welcome to AOK Games. This is indeed, as mentioned just a couple moments ago, the Beechcraft Starship 2000A. So, what's interesting about this airplane is I do in fact think that this is one of the higher fidelity aircraft that I have ever flown, for sure. And throughout the process of this video, because it will be a full review, there's just way too much here to not mention to the best of my abilities. We'll be using, we'll be cheating today. I have the GTN 750 from PMS50 here to help with the route planning on this aircraft, because I'm not proficient in the VLF/Omega radio navigation systems, even though there's a GNS 430, but you know, suffice it to say, without programming that in manually, I have had a go at SimBrief upload for the PMS50, and we'll just use that as our navigation. So that's a little bit of a cheat, but you'll see what I'm talking about. First things first, though, I do believe this is a definitive version of what I would call study level for 2020 or 2024. And the reason that I want to stay on 24 to review this is because of the quote-unquote so-called new flight model physics. So, at least in comparison to 2020. So, this canard is definitely something that I am interested in exploring and trying out based off of the new said physics. So it's an interesting aircraft for not just that reason. As I scroll around here, you're probably thinking, what am I doing here? Having a party and a dance on the tarmac? No, I'm just, you know, I want you just to see as much of the texturing as possible here, because this to me would be the definition of photorealism, so to speak. It's not perfect, but I want to let you in on a little secret. Not secret. It's only $55 USD. Now, I know, $55 is a lot of money considering you can pretty much buy a brand new next-gen AAA title for that. But the level of fidelity here is absolutely second to none, as all of Blacksquare's, well, most of Blacksquare's, the Velocity XL sort of was like a little testing bed in a way, in my opinion, because it's very, very similar to that, you know, being made by them as well, with the, I believe they call these Delta Wings. It was a fun aircraft to fly. However, the fidelity was not as high as this one. This is absolutely top quality work. The compression on YouTube may not be showing like the full fidelity, but I'm trying to upload everything in 4K so that if you have a 4K display, you can see most of what I'm seeing. But, you know, we've got slight things like if you look at, you know, this light housing here. I mean, you know, there's a little bit of jaggedness to the, I don't know, the texture or the, I don't know what that is, the painted on shadow, I don't know, the gasket, whatever that would be under there. But aside from that, right, I've had experiences with more expensive aircraft than this, which offer no more than what this aircraft offers. So that is to say, it's a lot for $55 you get here for your money. It's got the extension flap tracks here. And I mean, they're just, you know, the geometry is all there. And so what we have here is obviously, you know, lots of horsepower. I've taxied this airplane around. I've flown it like once, but not through a full flight. And without the beta ranges on these twin PT6's 2400 horsepower, this airplane will get away from you, and you will definitely, you know, there's another, these light jets that have the turbines on them, right? You have to hold the brakes and drag them, and they say you go through a lot of brake wear. Well, that seems modest compared to how hard this aircraft will literally drag you down the tarmac without the propellers in beta range to omit the thrust production out of the back. So it's definitely a really neat flight model, and it comes with a lot of things, obviously. We'll explore that in the tablet, of course, but GPU, of course, being one of them, and also this, you know, walk around here in 2024 and being able to manually, like, remove these things and do what it takes to pre-flight if you're into doing that sort of thing. Left some stuff down there, you know, in the main wheel, but that's okay. Let's hop inside here. Okay, and just like that, yep, we are in the back of the aircraft here. Let me open this up. Nice little tidbit here. Best aircraft the company ever built, Burt Rutan. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's how I read it. Really neat to see that on there, and the functionality here, right, of a lot of these things. The things that you would need, you know, I click around in here and I don't see clickables and spots like that, but that's okay. In my opinion, toilet not to be occupied for takeoff and landing. Presumably, there is a toilet somewhere around here, which I'm trying to click on. Cannot get that. However, let's zoom out and we'll work our way from the back forward. Now imagine that view, right? Imagine that view from landing at an airport. People are probably wondering, what is that and who is in it? That right there is modern, in my opinion, by any standards. Very, very sleek. The fit and finish here is pretty sick, aka high quality. Really, really nice stuff to look at. Reading lights. Right. Clicking. Trying to click. Not getting it declicks. Okay. Lights. Alright. That's oddly satisfying. I guess I'm easily amused. Your navigational 3.5-inch floppy disk for updating your FMS data. Nice. I don't know why, but that's really entertaining to me. So as I said, there you go. Type certificate. You've got your GPS here, your Garmin navigation, GNS 430, right? So you can use that if you're a modernist and everything, but it's kind of far and removed back in the corner, so, you know, custom view when you're in flight might need to be set up to be able to access that quickly and efficiently. However, like I said, or if I didn't say it, well, no, I did. We're going to be using the GTN 750, just, you know, to speed up the process here, because there's a lot to go over. The fit and finish of these dials and texturing, these toggle switches, the throttles, everything, really adds to the part of what this aircraft is. The cathode ray tubes we will show you splattered across this front here. They are really neat to look at. The excellent tablet here is, in my opinion, really neat to mess with in flight. You've got your simulated cabin environment and all of the associated fans, temperatures, and pressures that go with that, which we will look at in flight. You've got your electrical load simulation here. Really neat to see that in live time. And you've got your right and left hand engine simulations of the PT6 engines. What's really neat about these is if you've seen this style tablet before from, I believe the Blacksquare Duke has this on the piston and the turbine variant, you're familiar with this. I believe it's actually on, I want to say, an different manufacturer's piston airplane. Well, I should say software developer, not manufacturer's airplane. The A2A simulations, whatever that aircraft is, has it. Not to be disrespectful, I'm just drawing a blank here on the name of it. So it's really neat because what it does is shows us how a PT6 works in real time and the functionality and effects of what is and isn't being taken care of on the engine, meaning airflow, foreign object debris entering the engine, damaging the engine. And as you can see, the filters, the starter motors, and in fact, engine condition itself up until the point of failure, batteries, and fire extinguishers included through the simulation. The payload, which is really nice. Now I have to say this aircraft, at least at the time of making this video and uploading it, does not have direct SimBrief integration with the VLF/Omega because, well, how would it? Because SimBrief is modern and VLF/Omega navigation on your CRTs here is old school. So that's one of the reasons why I'm going to be using the GTN 750 today for easy integration of that, so to speak, but we'll get into that later. So I'm using that as well because when you normally import, if you've ever flown anything like, you know, the Airbuses or the Boeings with the import, it will set your fuel up and you can sync it to the airplane. Well, this one, we need to know how much fuel we need based off of the SimBrief calculations, and we'll have to add it on this page because, again, no integration. But your final page here is options, which is self-explanatory. Plenty of things that you can turn on and off here, as well as the manipulation of the tablet itself, which I really enjoy because it's easy to, I don't know. In some aircraft you can't move it. In a lot of aircraft you can't move it. You can just hide it or put it away or whatever. So the fact that you can move it around in this is really neat, especially for a $55 price tag. I mean, I really like that. So again, the story is still the same here in the cockpit environment. The fidelity and player engagement is what, for me, this is all about. All of these toggle switches. The Boris audio works, adding to the realism here. The sound clicks, the engine volumes, and all of that is really neat to see, and it keeps you involved because even down to your cabin altitude for your interior atmosphere, we've got gauges to control all this, bleed airs to control, autopilots to control, buttons, switches, knobs, dials, all of it works, and it leads you to fly a plane where you're not just clicking autopilot and then going out and cutting the lawn or running to the grocery store or whatever you do for the time that you're going on your 1,500 plus nautical mile voyage in your Starship. You can actually do stuff in here. So it really works. It really sets the tone. So we'll set the controls here back to idle, and I do have a little bit of difficulty, but that is essentially because I am flying with the Airbus TCA throttles, and they have the detents for the thrust reversers, and so that kind of can be a pain in the butt when you are trying to fly something that is not designed for the Airbus TCA. So I could probably get something different like a Turtle Beach, but for now we'll just leave them off because they seem to be drifting. So let's just turn some power on. Make sure that we have the external power cart connected, and we do. And I want you to just listen to this. Give me 1 second, and then I'll make sure the audio is good. Okay, adjusted. Let's turn on the battery. And then let's go ahead and we'll turn on the external power. Watch the CRTs come to life here when I do the integrated avionics. And those ray tubes, those cathode ray tubes, they just kind of come awake from a slumber as if to say, I'm here to do my job, but I was designed in a different era. And what's really neat about this plane is even though you have 2 engines to manage, 2 propellers, and 2 throttles, with a whole bunch of toggle switches, you've still got this modern/ish looking screen that has a stunning design on the outside for an aircraft fuselage, but the functionality of a modern airplane. So it's really a mixed bag with this plane, but it's really, really cool because it gives you all of that and the avionics in sort of like this retro package that still works. So we're going to go ahead and not worry about the AHRS and the FMS data, although, you know, it's all here and there's so many screens here, right? Like your position, your data, all of that. It's all there, but normal procedures, just click on any screen, and these are 5 pages of all of the aforementioned in the intro checklists. They are very, very extensive. Engine limitations, torque, right? Things that you essentially would want to know, right? Normal, abnormal procedures, starting on a battery, starting on an external power unit, how to start it, what to look for. And it's even got this, like, you know, this magenta and teal color. It just screams 70s and 80s, but it's unique and it makes you feel like you're in something different with this airplane. So I just really like that for the price because there's nothing else like this. I mean, you know, check this out. Functional lights, everything. I mean, unbelievable. We can click all this essentially because, you know, we're sitting on the GPU outside for the ground power. Wipers, they do work and they do actually clear rain. They're not just a visual. So if you fly in inclement weather, nice little feature to have. So let's go ahead and we'll hop right here. I'll adjust the fuel. We'll pull the PMS-50 GTN 750 up. We'll import the flight plan the way that I've been able to do it. And we'll take this bird for a flight from Dillingham here in Oahu due east to another one of the islands in Hawaii's chain here. So, yeah, bear with me. We'll be right back. Okay, so to get this started, I want to kind of just turn a couple things on. So I'll come down to the lower left and turn the nav on and the DME just in case. Not really going to use any of those, but let me pull my tablet up here and we'll go to the left and right hand engine pages. And I want you to notice the flap here on the engine intake. So I will flip it and we will essentially get the moving of this vane here when we go ahead and switch. When we go ahead and flip the correct one, this is to prevent foreign object debris from going into the engine. So the main stream is on the top end of the pipe and the secondary air is on the lower end of the pipe. So what happens here is it's like a bypass, right? So it's just as it shows. It comes in from the inertial separator inlet. It goes and diverts the heavier particles out of the engine and lets the little gap for the air in there so that you can not ingest anything that might be on the ground. So we'll do that with the right-hand engine as well for starting procedures. And we'll just take off with that. We'll have to remember to turn them off in flight. But today we're going to need about, I think, roughly 1,800 pounds of fuel. So one of the nice things is being able to do that right from this menu. And we'll have empty. So we are within the CG, and it's just that simple, right? White circle within the limits aft, basically. 2,144 pounds of fuel, 320 gallons. So we'll close the cabin door. Naturally very well animated. And it gets a lot more quiet in here. So we've got our inertial separator on. We're going to be flying today at relatively decent altitude, but in speaking of that, let's go ahead and pull up the PMS 50 GTN 750. Let it initialize, and we will go to import that flight plan. So one of the things that I like to get done with this aircraft is this, because I noticed that if you use this, which like I said is kind of cheating, if you import it from SimBrief, it essentially can program in. We'll change nav source here to FMS, and it goes in. But what's neat about that is the fact that essentially the route is programmed in to this old school CRT / computer system without, you know, having to manually type it all in. Although if you did, you can save it. One thing that's really, really nice about this airplane is you can absolutely save your routes. So if you wanted to do a to and from, you could do that as well. Really, really neat to see. Lots of functionality. And there you go. There's some more of the route, waypoint by waypoint. Really, really cool. We'll move this out of the way. We'll arm our oxygen. Put that back on there. And let's shore all that up. Okay, good to go. And let's go ahead and turn off the 750. And make sure, actually, where did our external power go? It turned off. In typical review fashion. Problems. So we'll leave it as it is, because what I wanted to do anyways was sort of start off of the battery with the checklist here. So what's really cool about this is, let me show you how to start an engine on the Starship here, right? So we're going to leave these off. Let's bring our right hand engine condition lever up to idle, and our power level to idle. So let's start this up. We're going to wait for the N1. Max rotation is kind of what they call for, so that'd be good, because you kind of want the engine to spool up as much as possible before you introduce fuel, to keep the temperatures as low as possible on the startup. Nothing will kill a turbine engine faster than excessive heat. So with it being there, let's introduce the start lever to add that fuel. And we'll wait for a light off. And I have to say, with the audio work sounds, man, it is really, really amazing to hear. There's like no splicing in the loops, there's no roughness of the sounds. They all just sound the way they're supposed to sound, which really, really works well. So we've got that. Let's go ahead and turn our generator on. If I can figure out how to actually touch buttons in this airplane. Make sure our starter turns off, and then set that to run. Naturally, the power was removed through yours truly. And when I say study level, I believe in leaving all this in for the video, because this is what it's all about, and why I'm telling you it's awesome, because procedures are literally what makes this thing fun. You can get it right or you can get it wrong, and if you get it wrong, you know you're getting it wrong, because the airplane will absolutely respond in accordance to how you treat it. Just a quick, easy reboot of the computer systems here, so we're good with that. 224 nautical miles, as it were. And again, left-hand engine is coming up to max rotation. And we'll go to ground idle. Or we will try to, assuming my TCAs work. Here we go. We'll wait for the engine to catch. The propeller is coming up through beta range. There's the light. Remove the ignition and starter. Sequence is running on its own now. And it'll pull up to almost about 70% N1, 60 something. And then when it stabilizes, there you go, 65.4, and we'll come up to run, which will raise the propellers back up out of beta into a higher range. And we are now running. Let's check out those flaps as they travel the range. Really nice animations. Well, so today we're going to be flying to 31,000 feet for our 224 nautical mile range. So what I'm going to do is rotate this down here to bottom number. The aircraft is actually at 31,000 feet, but the cabin can be maintained essentially right about there is good enough for now. So 31,000. It's at a regular rate. You can increase or decrease the rate. Let's turn on the bleed airs. Let's make sure everything is good. We'll leave that in auto. Temperature mode in auto. So we can always monitor here, but again, don't forget, we can cheat because we have that for the inevitable monitoring of the atmosphere. So we've got everything like that. We can turn our stall warnings on, our anti-skids on, and we have our engine auto ignition on. We'll leave the sync off for now. We'll put the auto feather to arm, come up, throw on some auxiliary blowers for the avionics. We'll leave our standby pumps off for now. I think everything is almost ready to go. Let's make sure we get our GNS 430 up and running, even though we will not be using it. And we'll make sure that our altimeter is transmitting 7,000 Unicom out here in Dillingham. We'll get our barometric pressure set, and then we will taxi out. I will join you again on the taxi, and we'll see how it performs. I think you're gonna like this one. See you in just a second. Okay, here we are taxiing to runway 26, and I'm going to stop the airplane and show you what I was talking about earlier. If you put the airplane into idle and take it out of beta range and release the brakes, this is the kind of acceleration you get, hence the brake wear. So when you have to be in beta to taxi, you know the airplane has a ton of power for sure. So one of the other things too is I've gone ahead and pulled this window up as well. Not window, but you can see the tablet here, right? Essentially, the inertial separators allow that little speck to not enter the engine, which is really kind of important. You can see the heat model, you can see the spinning of the turbine blades and everything, the fuel, the igniters, the spark, all of it's there essentially to provide that study level for you. So that's why we enabled that, essentially to go ahead and give you the visual for what it needs to have the inertial separators on, because there is just cause when you have engines that will fail, especially if you overwork these with too much power input. So I really like that. I like that there's a lot going on here. I like that there is the cathode ray tube simulation. I like that we have the toggle switches and all the things that you would want, in my opinion, for a study level aircraft. And the view, right? This view is just, man, they don't really get too much more original than this. So I really just enjoy looking out and seeing that canard, and consequently when we take off, you will see when the flaps come out, they actually sweep back, which is really just super cool. We'll just mosey our way on down here, and then when we are at the runway threshold, bring it right back. Okay, this is the beginning of runway 26. Just a couple things before we head out. I'm just going to try and keep the altitude within a reasonable amount in terms of climb rate. We can climb out in excess of 2,000 foot per minute with this aircraft for sure, especially as low of a load as we have in weight. However, if there were any Pacific airplanes coming over the pond there from California or wherever, and they were coming in on the northern Oahu route for the Oahu International on the other side of that mountain range there, this is the way they would be coming in. So I'm just going to keep it low. We're going to go and make a long sweeping right hand turn, and then we will start heading east towards our destination, which is 200 plus whatever it was nautical miles away, 224, 225, something like that. So let's go ahead and get ready to experience this takeoff. And the altimeter is set, 30.13 on our baro. And I have to say too, if you glance real quick at the intro there, you can see the night lighting for this space is really retro as well, you know. So what we're not seeing here in dial illumination with the gauges and everything, just refer back to the beginning of the video if that's something you're interested in. We'll throw the prop sync on, I suppose, after takeoff. As I am no pro, everything's good. We're all ready to go here. Not going to announce takeoff. Sorry about that. And what I want to do real quick now that I think about it is, it says on the checklist 100% or torque 850 ITT, 1700 RPM. So I'll slowly run this up, but I can tell you this aircraft can seriously put out an enormous amount of power. So I will bring back the propeller RPMs quite a bit. We'll aim for 1700, but I want to essentially make sure that we don't overspeed the engine here. So we're looking for, I'm going to run this up to about 80% power, and we're looking for about 1700. We have a long runway, so we're good. ITT is well below 850. Little bit more, a little bit more. We're not going to use 100% power. Okay. And they're within a couple RPMs of each other. Both engines are alive, so here we go. Very controllable, minimal inputs, but it's definitely accelerating. And not overly fast, but you can feel the weight like, you can tell it has power, but it feels kind of like easy rotation. 8 degrees. Gear up. And then let's go ahead and pull the flaps up. Canards moving backwards, if you can see. They are sweeping. You'll avoid the mountain range to the right. And then let's go back to the checklist here. And then let's go to the climb. And that's what I'm looking for, 1600 RPMs. We are close to that. But what I'd like to do is let's just bring the propellers back into the green ranges here. So we'll pull them down, we'll pull them down. And then I'm going to put the propeller sync on so it will match performance side to side. And we are still within our temperature range. Now that we are off and we have a little bit of altitude under us, let's go ahead and watch those flaps move on the engine again. So we are changing from inertial separator bypass back to regular airflow. And we are under 10,000, so let's go ahead and throw the strobes on just because. First stop is 25,000 feet. And I'm just sort of flying this by hand now because I kind of want to experience the flight model, you know. Cabin altitude. You can see the aircraft's at 5,500 feet on the bottom left, but we are still way below that in cabin altitude. So it is working. And I'll go ahead and trim it out. Make sure we turn our pitot static heats on, even though we didn't. Again, I claim to be no pro. No messages on the dashboards here in terms of the instrument crew alerting system there. We'll pull the power back to about 50% and trim out, staying below 250 under 10,000. So 700 on the ITT, well below damaging range, right? And we'll turn left again, just to experience the airplane. Beautiful. It's actually very, very easy on FPS. AFX enabled, auto feathering, no alerts, oil pressure, fuel flow, engine temperatures, everything's good. Let's go outside and take a look. Okay, so we will start tracking towards our waypoint. And there's Honolulu off the right-hand nose at about our 2 o'clock, right? Pearl Harbor out there in the center of the valley out by the ocean. And I'm just staying over the mountains here because, as I was saying, out there is normally where I track in from when I am landing on the... Well, you're coming out from the Pacific and you go right around behind you, over there, around the... essentially skirting the mountain, and then you come in to the International right down there. So if there were anybody out there, you know, just kind of role-playing the rules here, but staying out of that way, nonetheless. So we're on our way to, says that 25,000, which I'm surprised the sim brief wants us to go up to 31, but that's okay. We'll do whatever it wants. Save fuel. We'll pull the throttle down, or the propeller RPM down just a little bit and get the propeller RPMs into the green there, and then let the propeller sink do the rest. I have to say, it feels quite nice. Very, very smooth. A little bit of turbulence there. And there's Honolulu with the buildings. Excellent. So we've just reached above 10,000. We'll go ahead and we'll turn the wing lights off, and I'll catch you when we're at altitude, hopefully at 31,000 feet. Okay, welcome to my modified flight altitude, just above these clouds here. 26,000 is where we're going to loiter today for the rest of the flight. We are in cruise power, 80% here. Like I said, you know, you want to just fly by the guidelines of this airplane to not overtemp or anything like that. I've gone ahead and also pulled up the cruise page here, and it says the climb power, you know, 97%, 840, so we're under it by 20 some odd degrees. 1600 RPMs, we're in the green, under it, auto feather. So we'll come down here, and it wants us to turn the auto feather off, and then engine monitoring, fuel monitoring, complete all of that. And of course the next one will be our descent. So rate knobs is desired. We have to set our altitude and so on and so forth. Power lights, yada yada yada. I'm looking for the before landing for when we turn the auto feather on. Yep, approach speeds, pressurization, no smoking. When we begin to descend towards our destination, I'll go ahead and worry about that. But everything's working fine. So we'll go back one layer here to the descent, and I'll be ready for that. And all is looking well on the engines. Might as well take a gander at the electrics page with it running and active. Everything seems to be in the green. That's good. Cabin, as you can see now, 26,000 feet for aircraft, but our cabin is just around or below 5,000 feet. Cabin interior pressure or equivalent. So it's working, and it's working well. You can hide that for now and just look out the window and enjoy the views. Really, really neat to see that canard out there. Let's get some exteriors, and I will catch up with you right before final approach. That way we can save us all some time and hopefully conclude the video and my final impressions of this aircraft. See you in a few seconds. Okay, so welcome back to 3,300 feet. We do not have too much to go on our approach into PHTO, runway 21. 3,300 feet is where they want us to be at by waypoint Fambo, so we are already there. I've reset the barometric pressures, I've put the taxi light, or rather the wing lights on, and made sure that we are ready to go. And the wings, I've rearmed the auto feather as it wanted, and we'll just continue to go down. Landing gears, flaps, lights, autopilots, propellers, sync off before landing, so we will get that off and make sure that we put the radar on standby. There's no weather and we don't want to nuke people with the radar waves. Yaw damper off, good to go, and then just normal brakes for the landing. Power levels to idle. Okay, we'll leave it on that and head to the Fambu as the GTN 750 illustrates. It's kind of like why I have it on there again, because it sort of just points out, makes it a little bit easier rather than looking at the CRT screens, which, you know, they're not hard, and they are period correct, obviously, in Legacy, but the 750 really kind of highlights what's going on here. It looks like a jumbled mess, but I did a direct to from a little ways back here, northwest side of the island, direct to Arbor. So we'll get that off the screen, and then as soon as we are around that bend up there, which may not be able to be seen, but we're getting close. So when we're on short final, I'll bring us right back. Everything's going, dare I say, A-okay. See you in a brief moment. Okay, let's throw some flaps in and a little bit of power here to keep the speed up. We'll go ahead and fly the route the rest of the way. Autopilot is off, and we'll maintain this speed. We are on our approach here to the straight-in final, so it's a little further out than short final, but kind of just want to feel the plane in the landing configuration dirty, so to speak, with the flaps out and the landing gear down. But we should be very, very close to being completed here with this review. And then we'll wrap it up, obviously. So, auto feather off, propeller synchronization off, master warning, cautionary yellow off. So you'll notice the altimeter there on the artificial horizon. Interesting change over there. So 3 greens, everything's down. Let's go ahead and put on our inertial separators again to prevent from foreign object debris, into the engine. I've gone ahead a while ago and changed the cabin to 1,500 feet or 0 as appropriate by the elevation of the airport here. Very maintainable, very flyable. Naturally, the canard wings out front are back into their full forward extended position for maximum stability. Chop over the tree line. And holding it off. Go back into ground fine. That way we are producing 0 thrust from our pusher props. And I'll just lightly tap the brakes. You can see the bumps on the canard there. Nice little added effect. Just like that, we'll pull the flaps back up and we'll look for an exit to the runway. And we'll just take this one to the right. Very, very easy landing in this aircraft. Granted, there wasn't a lot of crosswind or anything like that. But I will just pull over to, well, let's see. I suppose anywhere to finish up would be good. Let me find a spot on the paddock here. And we'll be right back. Okay, let's go ahead and turn the parking brakes on. We've turned our pitot static and everything else off. Let's turn our lights off. No smokings, masters, and wing lights. Let's come down here and we'll go ahead and turn off our oxygen. We'll turn off our bleed airs to get rid of the air conditioning. That's all off anyway. We do not need that. Let's go ahead and we'll leave the inertial separators on. Turn off our alternate air there. We'll turn off our auto igniters. We will come down here and turn off the temp mode rather. And let's bring this down one notch. And ideally we would let this kind of cool down, meaning the engine kind of just idling here for a little bit, so as to bring the parts down to a cooler temperature, sort of like blowing air over the hot engine parts while we idle here, at least to bring them to a more regulated temperature, one would think and hope. All of those are off. Let's go ahead and pull the power, the fuel. Come back to feather. Right. Just like that, we have a spool down. Very cool. Let's open up the door here. Right, we'll put all the stuff on, and then we will open up the cabin doors and hop on out. So here we are at PHTO, one of the more eastern islands in the Hawaiian chains, on our Blacksquare Beechcraft Starship. I hope you enjoyed the video. For $55, you know, there's a lot here. A lot here. And there was literally no way to make the video any shorter. I feel like I haven't even began to touch the VLF, which I didn't, or the Omega, which I didn't, the procedures, which I barely even touched, the failures, which we didn't touch at all, the engine damage from the engine debris, not operating them correctly, exploding the engines, damaging them down to 0%. There are so many things here that, you know, are beyond just a simple review video. So if you like what you saw, believe you me, there is more than meets the eye with this aircraft for this price point, and it is certainly a visual pleasurement to fly around and experience. There's not really anything else like this, and that's a good thing, because as there weren't really that many made in real life, especially the ones that are still flying, there really, I think, is something to be said about this aircraft. There's nothing else like it in the simulator, and there's quite nothing else like it in the real world either. So if you liked what you saw, please give me a thumbs up, maybe consider subscribing, maybe tell me how terrible of a job I do on the videos. But for $55, my friends, this is absolutely worth the price of admission. I hope you feel so as well. But until the next one, thanks for visiting me here at AOK Games, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.